Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayanti Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, Prahlad Maharaj, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. Text number 52 onwards. Dharmam artham cha kamam cha nitram cha nupurvasha prahadayo chatu rajan prashrita vanataya cha. Thereafter, Shanda and Namark systematically and unceasingly taught Prahlad Maharaj, who was very submissive and humble, about mundane religion, economic development, and sense gratification. But this is what demons like. Just do some religious activity and get some money and enjoy. There are four processes for human society: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, and they culminate in liberation. Human society must follow a process of religion to advance. And on the basis of religion, one should try to develop his economic condition so that he can fulfill his needs for sense gratification according to the religious rules and regulations. Then liberation from material bondage will be easier to attain. That is the Vedic process. When one is above the stages of dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, one becomes a devotee. He is then on the platform from which he is guaranteed not to fall down again to material existence. Yad gatvana nivartante. As advised in Bhagavad Gita, if one transcends these four processes and is actually liberated, one engages in devotional service. Then he is guaranteed not to fall to material existence again. Because the problem with dharma, artha, kama, and moksha is generally people don't come to the stage of moksha. They just want to dharma, artha, and kama. Enjoy. So moksha, one who strives for moksha or liberation is one who gets really frustrated or really gets knowledge about all this. Why I'm wasting my time in all this? But demons, this is what they like. Do some religious activity, get some money, get some material opulence, and enjoy. And that's what Prabhupada said. Devotion starts even after the stage of moksha. Big statement, because Vedas only talk about dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Devotion is only mentioned in few scriptures, like Bhagavatam here. Otherwise, devotion is not even mentioned. Yatha trivargam gurubhiratmane upshikshitam na sadhu mene tachiksham danbaramam pavarnitam. The teachers Shanda and Namark instructed Prahlad Maharaj in the three kinds of material advancement called religion, economic development, and sense gratification. Prahlad, however, being situated above such instructions, did not like them. For such instructions are based on the duality of worldly affairs, which involve one in a materialistic way of life marked by birth, death, old age, and disease. The entire world is interested in the materialistic way of life. Indeed, practically 99.9% of the people in the three worlds are uninterested in liberation or spiritual education. Only the devotees of the Lord, headed by such great personalities as Prahlad Maharaj and Narad Muni, are interested in the real education of spiritual life. One cannot understand the principles of religion while staying on the material platform. Therefore, one must follow these great personalities. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, these great personalities are Swayambhur Narada Shambhu Maru Kapilo Manu Prahladu Janako Bhishmo Baliravaya Sakiravayam. One must follow in the footsteps of such great personalities as Lord Brahma, Narad, Lord Shiva, Kapil, Manu, Kumaras, Prahlad Maharaj, Bhishma, Janak, Bali Maharaj, Shukdev Goswami, and Yamaraj. Those interested in spiritual life should follow Prahlad Maharaj in rejecting the education of religion, economic development, and sense gratification. One should be interested in spiritual education. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement is spreading all over the world, following in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj, who did not like any of the materialistic education he received from his teachers. And why he did not like? He said, no, this is based on the duality. Duality of worldly affairs means based on the body. I'm this body. And the body's prime work is, or duty is, to enjoy. But that's Prahlad Maharaj said, this is not what we are here for. Yadacharya pravritto grihi medhiya karmasu vayasyar balakastatra sopahuta kritakshane. When teachers went home to attend to their household affairs, the students of the same age as Prahlad Maharaj would call him to take the opportunity of leisure hours for play. In the tiffin hours or the lunchtime, the hours when the teachers were absent from the classroom, the students called Prahlad Maharaj, wanting to play with him. As will be seen from the following verses, however, Prahlad Maharaj was not very much interested in playing. Indeed, he wanted to utilize every moment for advancing in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, as indicated in this verse by the word Kritakshane, at the opportune moment when it was possible to preach about Krishna consciousness, Prahlad Maharaj used the time as follows. See, 5-year-old boy, and his friends are saying, let's play, teachers are gone home. But he would say, no, I'm not going to play. In fact, he'd tell them, you also should not play, should not waste your time. Atatan Slakshanaya Vacha Pratyahuya Mahabuddha Vacha Vidvansta Nishtham Kripya Prahasan Eva. Prahlad Maharaj, who was truly the supreme learned person, then addressed his class friends in a very sweet language. Smiling, he began to teach them about the uselessness of the materialistic way of life. Being very kind to them, he instructed them as follows. Prahlad Maharaj's smiling is very significant. The other students were very much advanced in enjoying materialistic life through religion, economic development, and sense gratification. But Prahlad Maharaj laughed at them, knowing that this was not actual happiness. For real happiness is advancement in Krishna consciousness. The duty of those who follow in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj is to teach the entire world how to be Krishna conscious and thus be really happy. Materialistic persons take to so-called religion to get some blessings so that they can improve their economic position and enjoy the material world through sense gratification. But devotees like Prahlad Maharaj laugh at how foolish they are to be busy in a temporary life without knowledge of the soul's transmigration from one body to another. Materialistic persons are engaged in striving for temporary benefits, whereas persons advanced in spiritual knowledge, such as Prahlad Maharaj, are not interested in the materialistic way of life. Instead, they want to be elevated to an eternal life of knowledge and bliss. Therefore, as Krishna is always compassionate to the fallen souls, his servants, the devotees of Lord Krishna, are also interested in educating the entire populace in Krishna consciousness. The mistake of materialistic life is understood by devotees, and therefore they smile upon it, considering it insignificant. Out of compassion, however, such devotees preach the gospel of Bhagavad Gita all over the world. So devotees like Prahlad Maharaj, he was laughing at this little boy's What are you doing? What are you studying? Why you're wasting your time? He could not stand his friends wasting their time, wasting their life. But materialistic people with that kind of mentality, that consciousness, it's very, very difficult for them to understand what is spiritual knowledge and what are the benefits of spiritual knowledge. Devotees understand why is it so, it's such a wastage of time. And that's why the 10th offense against holy name is to still maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. But yes, it takes time. More we get connected to Krishna, more our material attachments will go away. They'll go away slowly. But at least right now we understand that it's just a wastage of time. Yes, we still have to do our jobs and businesses and take care of material duties, but as a matter of duty, as a matter of a responsibility that I have to perform, or as a matter of it's the service that Krishna has given me, but not in a mood that people like work 16, 18 hours a day just to make more and more money. And then in the end, they don't know what to do with all this money. So even if somebody makes crores and crores of rupees, what is he going to do with it? Cannot spend it all, and spend where? Basically, people like to either buy property or just go for foreign trips, or to eat in restaurants or buy some clothes and jewelry. How long this can give one pleasure? Even if somebody goes for foreign trip to maybe Europe, well, if we look at all these places in Europe, whether beautiful places, I'm not saying they're not, and very well kept, but ultimately it's all land, water, maybe some snow here and there, grass. What else is there? And if you want to eat, okay, in the best restaurants. So what? Ultimately, it's this, eating is same. The activity is the same. And probably it gives more pleasure to a person who has worked hard, because then he can really enjoy and digest that food. Okay, I can wear some nice branded clothes because I have so much money. Well, even if the brands are there, it's still cotton and terracotta or some other material. That's all it is. But ultimately, when we do all these things, it's not that this gives me pleasure. It's a matter of show off to others, to my friends, to relatives, to people in general. See how much I have, and I can wear this, and I can have best of the mobile phones. But even if we have the best of the mobile phones, all we're going to do is talk nonsense if we are not spiritually advanced. So yes, one should make a good, decent living, but not to work too hard for that purpose. That's why Rupa Goswami says, Atyahara prayasascha rajalpa niyamagraha jansangasya lolyam cha shadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. Atyahara prayasascha. Atya prayas also means over endeavor to make money, to make a living. just kills the bhakti. So whatever time is required to spend to earn a decent, honest living, one should, and then spend the rest of the time in Krishna consciousness, to develop Krishna consciousness. But people with demonic mentality, they don't do this. They cannot understand this. So Prahlad Maharaj, he further says, Te tu tad gaurvat sarve tyakta krida parichada bala adushit dhiyo dvandva rame rite hataya paryupasat rajendra tanyasyat hridekshana tanah karuno metro maham bhagavato asuraha. My dear King Yudhishthir, so Narad Muni is telling King Yudhishthir, all the children were very much affectionate and respectful to Prahlad Maharaj. And because of their tender age, they were not so polluted by the instructions and actions of their teachers, who were attached to condemned duality and godly comfort. Thus the boys surrounded Prahlad Maharaj, giving up their playthings, and sat down to hear him. Their hearts and eyes being fixed upon him, they looked at him with great earnestness. Prahlad Maharaj, although born in a demon family, was an exalted devotee, and he desired their welfare. Thus he began instructing them about the futility of materialistic life. So Prahlad Maharaj was preaching from the school itself. The words Bala Adushita Dhiya indicate that the children, being of a tender age, were not as polluted by materialistic life as their fathers. Prahlad Maharaj, therefore, taking advantage of the innocence of his class friends, began teaching them about the importance of spiritual life and the insignificance of materialistic life. Although the teachers, Chanda and Namak, were instructing all the boys in the materialistic way of religion, economic development, and sense gratification, the boys were not much polluted. Therefore, with great attention, they wanted to hear from Prahlad Maharaj about Krishna consciousness. In our Krishna consciousness movement, the Gurukul plays an extremely important part in our activities, because right from childhood, the boys at the Gurukul are instructed about Krishna consciousness. Thus, they become steady within the course of their hearts, and there is very little possibility that they will be conquered by the modes of material nature when they are older. So, this is what Prahlad Maharaj also says, that Komara Macharita Pragyo means from the very age of 5 years, one should start instructing their children about Krishna consciousness, or from 5 years of age, one should start practicing Krishna consciousness. Because once those impressions are given at that age, they just never go away, never. So even if when these kids become teenagers life means rebellious life. The last people they want to listen to is their parents. Because teenagers, we also went through that. We think we know everything when we are teenagers. We think we know more than our parents, more than our elders. And they all are old, they are not up to the mark, or they don't know the latest things. But later we realize that parents and elders, they have lots of experience. They have learned a lot in life. So that is what we have to respect them. We have to learn from them. We have to follow without. But teenager life is like that. So the point is, even if when they become teenagers and then they don't follow, but the sanskaras that are given when they're tender age, young, they will come back. They will definitely come back. And this is what Prabhupada is saying. Thus they become steady within the course of their hearts. And there is very little possibility that they will be conquered by the modes of material nature when they are older. Also, as Prahlad Maharaj, he would teach to his friends, and as Prabhupada has preached to everybody, there has to be that element of love in our preaching, element of transforming the heart of the person by our love, by our sincerity, by our caring, by our compassionate nature, not by force. No. Bhakti is not about not forcibly done. Bhakti is done with love because the result is love. So it has to be done very, very lovingly, especially with children. Children, of course, I'm not a parent and I don't know how to raise children, but all I know is we should give lots and lots of love. So thus ends the 5th chapter of 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Prahlad Maharaj, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. And we can start the 6th chapter. Prahlad instructs his demoniac schoolmates. Text 1. Shri Prahlad Uvacha Kaumaracharit Pragyo Dharman Bhagavatan Iha Duralabham Manasham Janma Tad Api Adhrubam Arthadam. Prahlad Maharaj said, one who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. The human body is most rarely achieved, and although temporary like other bodies, it is meaningful because in human life, one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. So, wonderful preaching by Prahlad Maharaj. So far, Prahlad Maharaj was keeping the knowledge of the instructions to himself. And now he is starting to preach. So obviously Chanda and Amark will find out, and then they will report to Hiranyakashipu. And now Hiranyakashipu will become really angry. So far there was only between Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad Maharaj, whatever the preaching went on. Indirect preaching, but now since he started to preach to other schoolmates who were all the sons of different demons, and that is really, really troublesome. But anyway, let's look at all the instructions that Prahlad Maharaj gives. So he says, this human form body is most rarely achieved, and although temporary like other bodies, it is meaningful because in human life, one can perform devotion service. So one should start from the very beginning or tender age of childhood. The whole purpose of Vedic civilization and of reading the Vedas is to attain the perfect stage of devotional service in the human form of life. According to the Vedic system, therefore, from the very beginning of life, the Brahmacharya system is introduced, so that from one's very childhood, from the age of 5 years, one can practice modifying one's human activities so as to engage perfectly in devotional service. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Even a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. And as we have discussed, what's the most dangerous type of fear for any person is to go down in the lower species of life once we have attained the human life. Why? Because this human life is so rare. So one should not, first of all, waste it. And then secondly, one should not do some things that we get a lower species life. Modern civilization, not referring to the verdicts of Vedic literature, is so cruel to the members of human society that instead of teaching children to become brahmacharis, it teaches mothers to kill their children even in the womb on the plea of curbing the increase of population. So, so this population explosion that is a problem, or so-called problem. Yes, for some countries it is a problem because of limited resources, but not by curbing the population by unfair or illegal means, or killing the babies in the womb. That's not the proper way. Education is a proper way, and actually devotion is a proper way. A devotee, although he knows anybody who is born will be taken care of by Krishna, that's for sure. But he understands his responsibility towards Krishna, towards the Mother Nature, whose energy of Krishna, that the devotee understands that unless until I'm qualified, or I can make my offsprings Krishna conscious, I should not have children. So aim is that. So that's why there's automatic population control. But otherwise, anybody who's born, Krishna will take care of. And if by chance a child is saved, he is educated only for sense gratification. Gradually, throughout the entire world, human society is losing interest in the perfection of life. Indeed, men are living like cats and dogs, spoiling the duration of their human lives by actually preparing to transmigrate again to degraded species among the 8,400,000 forms of life. The Krishna consciousness movement is anxious to serve human society by teaching people to perform devotional service, which can save a human being from being degraded again to animal life. As already stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Bhagavad Dharma consists of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. In all the schools, colleges, and universities, and at home, all children and youths should be taught to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, they should be taught to hear the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, to put them into practice in their lives, and thus to become strong in devotion service, free from fear of being degraded to animal life. So this should be the main aim, main goal of everybody, that in their house they should, if not in the schools or universities, at the home children should learn Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and follow the practices of chanting and doing arti, and so many activities are there in Krishna consciousness. And children love to do it. At least when they're little. Of course, when they grow up, then it's a problem. But at least when they're little, they love to do it. Following Bhagavad Dharma has been made extremely easy in this age of Kali. And in this age of Kali, by Matsya Mahaprabhu, it has been made very easy. One need only chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Everyone engaged in practice of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra will be completely cleansed from the core of his heart and be saved from the cycle of birth and death. So the children, they should be encouraged to chant, and that's it. That will really help them. Yatha hi purushyasya Vishnu padopasarpanam yadesha sarva bhutanam priya atmeshvara surat. The human form of life affords one a chance to return home back to Godhead. Therefore, every living entity, especially in the human form of life, must engage in devotional service to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. This devotional service is natural because Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the most beloved, the master of the soul, and the well-wisher of all other living beings. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying this devotional service is natural. Natural because Lord Vishnu is the master of the soul, and everybody wants to serve somebody, and the original master, why not serve him? The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram yajna tapasam, the sages knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Simply by understanding these three facts, that the Supreme Lord Vishnu is the proprietor of the entire creation, that he is the best well-wishing friend of all living entities, and that he is a supreme enjoyer of everything, one becomes peaceful and happy. For this transcendental happiness, the living entity has wandered throughout the universe in different forms of life and different planetary systems, but because he has forgotten his intimate relationship with Vishnu, he has merely suffered life after life. Therefore, the educational system in the human form of life should be so perfect that one will understand his intimate relationship with God or Vishnu. Every living entity has an intimate relationship with God. One should therefore glorify the Lord in the adoration of Shantarasa revive his eternal relationship with Vishnu as a servant in Dasiras, as a friend in Sakya, as a parent in Vatsalya, or a conjugal lover in Madhurya Ras. All these relationships are on the platform of love. Vishnu is the center of love for everyone, and therefore the duty of everyone is to engage in the loving service of the Lord. As stated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yesham Aham Priya Atma Sutas, in any form of life, we are related with Vishnu, who is the most beloved, the super soul, son, friend, and guru. Our eternal relationship with God can be revived in the human form of life, and that should be the goal of education. Indeed, that is the perfection of life and the perfection of education. But to come to that level of introducing or implementing the spiritual education in schools and colleges, there has to be a big change in the education system. The prime minister or president of countries should be devotees, and they can implement this. Till then, we just do whatever we can, at least in our household, in our community, on our street, and wherever we can, to help children. We can introduce them to chanting, and they, as Prahlad Maharaj says, at this tender age, they're very pure and they take it up very easily. Because they don't get in too many arguments. They're like in our museum in Delhi, the Vedic Expo, there used to be so many school children would come, and we would to the elder children we would give them Bhagavad Gita copy free of cost, and we would preach to them. They would all sit down, listen nicely, and even little children, they would love to chant and dance, love that, and they had so much of energy. And then you just make them chant and dance. They can do it for hours and hours without any problem. And they loved it. So it's very easy to preach to them at that age. But as I said, it has to be done with love. Sukham andriyakam datya dehi yogin dehinam sarvatra labhyate deva yatha dukkham ayatnataha. Very, very important verse. Prahlad Maharaj continued, my dear friends, born of demoniac families, the happiness perceived with reference to the sense objects by contact with the body can be obtained in any form of life according to one's past fruitive activities. Such happiness is automatically obtained without endeavor, just as we obtain distress. See, nobody asks for, oh Krishna, I have been living so healthy life for less, whatever, 6, 8 months or 1 year. See, I didn't even get infected with corona. No, let me get sick. Nobody asks for this distress. Krishna, I have worked long enough. Now let me get fired from the job. Or let me lose some money. I made plenty of money. So let somebody come and cheat me. Nobody asks for like that. What happens? Happens with everybody. Everybody has got cheated and everybody has fallen sick and so many other problems. So if the distress comes on its own without asking, without giving any signal, warning signal that I'm coming, happiness will also come on its own. When the time is right, the happiness will also come. Why we have to go and ask for happiness or comfortable life? It will come on its own. Whenever the time is right. Of course, we have to keep on working, but whenever the time is right, it will happen. In the material world, in any form of life, there is some so-called happiness and so-called distress. No one invites distress in order to suffer, but still it comes. Similarly, even if we do not endeavor to obtain the advantages of material happiness, we shall obtain them automatically. This happiness and distress are obtainable in any form of life without endeavor. Thus, there is no need to waste time and energy fighting against distress or working very hard for happiness. Our only business in the human form of life should be to revive our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become qualified to return home back to Godhead. Material happiness and distress come as soon as we accept a material body, regardless of what form. Means any form, human form, bird, beast, any form. This will happen. Happiness and distress will come. We cannot avoid such happiness and distress under any circumstances. The best use of human life, therefore, lies in reviving our relationship with the Supreme Lord Vishnu. So that is the most important aspect of life. How I can revive my relationship with Vishnu or Krishna, not how to mitigate distress and increase happiness. That will happen on its own. And in fact, when one becomes a devotee, his distresses are reduced anyway because he has a proper understanding and Krishna is there to protect. Tat prayaso na kartavyo yat ayur vyayah param na tatha vindate kshemam mukunda charanam bhujam. Endeavors merely for sense gratification or material happiness or economic development are not to be performed, for they result only in a loss of time and energy with no actual profit. If one's endeavors are directed towards Krishna consciousness, one can surely attain the spiritual platform of self-realization. There is no such benefit from engaging oneself in economic development. And the whole world is working for this economic development. Whether we should invest here or there, whether we should open this business, get that job, get that promotion, take this course so I can make, I can be promoted and do this project and work hard on different projects so I can impress my boss and he can promote me or give me some more money. But Prahlad Maharaj says there is no such benefit from engaging oneself in economic development. We see materialistic persons busily engaged in economic development all day and all night, trying to increase their material opulence. But even if we suppose that they can get some benefit from such endeavors, that does not solve the real problems of their lives. Nor do they know what the real problem of life is. This is due to a lack of spiritual education. Especially in the present age, every man is in darkness, in the bodily conception of life, not knowing anything of the spirit, soul, and its needs. Misguided by the blind leaders of society, people consider the body to be everything, and they are engaged in trying to keep the body materially comfortable. Such a civilization is condemned because it does not lead humanity towards knowing the real goal of life. People are simply wasting time and the valuable gift of the human form. Because a human being who does not cultivate spiritual life but dies like the cats and dogs is degraded in his next life. From human life, such a person is put into the cycle of continuous birth and death. Thus, one loses the true benefit of human life, which is to become Krishna conscious and solve life's problems. Life's problems are not how to make more money. Real problems of life are birth, old age, disease, and death. That's what we have to work on. Not how to make money, where is money, that's insignificant actually. I think I'll stop here today. I'm a little tired today, feeling sleepy. Does anybody has any questions or comments?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Dandava Pranam. There is no question.
Thank you. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Yes, there is so much to realize. Yes.
I know. These instructions are amazing.
Yes.
Maharaj.
Please take rest, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll stop it. Thank you. All have a wonderful
so much,
safe day.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Jai
Please
Srila
take
Prabhupada.
rest.
Thank you, Mata.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.